the meeting to order of the Big Plains Water and Sewer Special Service District. Please all stand and we'll pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call starting with
Ross Gregerson, President.
Jerry Jorgensen is excused absence. He's out of town. Harold Merritt is here.
Marty Lisenby's here.
And Jenny Bass is here by phone.
Very good. Okay, let me get my glasses on here. Dale Harris, would you fill us in on what's going on?
Our fence finally got started today around 59. The hose got poked today. He'll do post tomorrow and string the chain link on Monday. Our neighbor there, Tony Shapley, has done a great job and donated a whole bunch of cinders to put inside our area. He's built us a nice road to get in there, and he's also concreted into valve cans for us. And actually we got a ditch that now runs behind the building so that my waste will go into the wash, and Tony Shapley has donated all of that and done that for us. So publicly he's not here, but yeah, he's been a great neighbor. It's been a good thing. Had some stuff with the state. They sent me a thing saying that they were going to put some points on my report because I hadn't reported my fourth quarter chlorine residuals and what type of pump I was using. So I had to straighten that out, of course, because we don't chlorinate anything. And they were taking information from Cedar Point from clear back in 2009, I think the lady said. So got that straightened out. Have new paperwork for lead and copper that I emailed off today, and it's just for your certification to say that you've notified at least one person with your lead and copper results. And then I'll be taking the training for cross-connection program administrator for rural water. That we've got to have that by December anyway, so it's a good opportunity since they're here. I've started doing my yearly valve exercising and cleaning out all of my mainline valve cans, so you'll see me around doing that. And then also doing the setters also. Since we put the system in, I've only gone through it once and exercised those to make sure that the gaskets aren't drying out. Took Danny for a trip up into the Canaan and let him see the damage and everything up there. It was a nice little, oh, I forgot he was on there. So it was a nice little stroll with Danny up in there, and he got to see what we've got to do, you know, what we've got to do for our sanitary survey, the violations and whatnot that we had up there. A lot of blue staking with the UDOT folks. Met with them 2 weeks ago. They gave me a set of plans, copied one off and put it in the office, gave one to Harold. They're not really going to affect us. They haven't gotten back on me yet of what they're going to do actually where our main line is from Paradise to the Chevron, and then from the Chevron in front of the gateway. She said she'd get back to me if they're going to actually raise that and actually create a shoulder there. She said they still weren't clear on whether they were going to do that or not. If they do, they have to raise our cans and all of that, because we have mainline valve cans that are in the middle of that they'll have to raise. And I also just addressed that that'll end up, you know, putting mainline 14, 15 feet into the ground, and that I was a little concerned about, you know, if we had water breaks and whatnot, but we'll talk about that if that's what we're going to end up having to do. But other than that, that's about it. Just keeping the water running, doing samples, and had a few folks call with water leaks more than normal this year, but on their side, not on our side. Had one just barely shut off today that was there at Dan Jessup's place as soon as you came in. I don't know if you've seen the lake, if anybody's out fishing that yet, but his irrigation broke, and it flooded out pretty fast, but.
Lawn sprinkler or?
Yeah, he called me
or
from,
something?
no, it's that irrigation box, he just needs to fill that thing full of, it happens like every other year. I think this is the third or fourth time I've gone and shut it off when it's busted, but other than that, excited about finally getting around with Canaan and hopefully, getting our funds running to get our other wells rehabbed and, yeah.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little further. And then,
And maybe you don't know the answer, on UDOT, is this just, on the blue staking, just locating where we need to?
Yeah, just for what we did out, just what we've got out here in the right of way, that was it. That's all I had to locate. I went and cleared them once, and then all they gotta do is just go and re-hit that paint because they send me a bunch of blue stakes, but I just go out and clear the ones that are actually where they would be working, so they know that there's nothing there. But other than that, yeah.
Is there, and I don't know if we know the answer, is there anything with this project where we could get are they just paving over up there, or is there a chance we could get some sleeves across the road for future?
All they're doing is widening the, all they're doing is creating a shoulder for now, and then they'll have different spots that there's gonna be, passing lanes. So what they're doing, they've been crushing, and they've actually started at the Hilldale border, and they're working this way. And they're gonna widen it, but not all in all spots, but there will be, I think it's 4 passing lanes, I think, that will start after you come up the hill, that they'll be putting in also.
My other question, we're not responsible for anything as far, servicing fire hydrants, are we? Or are we?
I'm not understanding your question.
Well, I think there's a statute on fire hydrants, they have to be exercised or, I did a project one time for Brian Head 10 years ago, that they said every 2 or 3 years they had to be serviced, is that?
Oh, you're talking about flushing the fire hydrants, yeah. There's so many of those I do every quarter. There's some places that I just absolutely can't because I don't have anywhere to put any water. I'll flood out people's property, but they are exercised, they are greased, they're taken care of in that way. I didn't know what you were saying there, but yes, yeah.
Can you excuse me for 38 seconds, President?
yeah, well, it doesn't burn much gas, it should be okay.
It's a hybrid, isn't it?
It's still. It's so quiet, he didn't know.
Yeah.
Someplace I was reading that some municipalities will do even pressure tests on those just to verify the pressure, and I thought it was in the fire code that they're supposed to do it once a year.
That comes on the fire side. I mean, I pretty much know what my pressure is, but as far as testing that
Well, I'm
pressure.
talking about though for, in the fire code, I think it's in there that they should be testing even.
Yeah.
And so it's probably a job that, in some communities, I was asking around, and they say that they do that with the water departments and the fire department go out together sometimes on some of those things, but it's just thought, it's something I haven't talked to the junior about, but I felt maybe.
Yeah, that's generally that's for ISO rating, that's generally what the fire will do. As far as me, pressure testing, I can say except for doing ISO ratings, I haven't pressure tested any system that I've ever operated for that.
But some of those hydrants you mentioned might flood someone out. Couldn't we take a water truck up and we're pumping that?
Oh yeah, we
water
could,
truck?
yeah, we can fill water trucks. The thing is when you're flushing your hydrant, what you're doing is actually flushing that main. So what you've got is sedimentation and all of that. So putting it in a truck, if it's a potable water truck or someone wants to run it through a sprayer to water, you might be plugging some stuff.
All good information.
Yeah, you might be, because that's what you're doing is moving that dead water. So wherever that fire hydrant lateral is from that main line, you've got that stagnant water in there. So you've got to move all of that.
It might be good to get it done though, at some point.
Oh,
Even if it's-
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it's your dead ends it's the most thing, but keeping all of those clean, of course, are important. It's just that we're not set up where I can even if I put a diffuser on those, I've got some places, there's just no way that anywhere that I can put any water without flooding people's property out or putting down, it's the fact of the system. I mean, not everybody is able to dump water completely out. They're able to I cycle them, but they're just not flushed, so to speak, because I just have nowhere to put the water.
By cycling, you mean you just turn them on and make sure there's water?
Yeah, I just make sure that the torque is coming up, the plug's coming up, and the plug's going down, and that it's operational, and then Junior hits them with the grease gun, and I hit them with the grease gun also.
Alright.
Anything else? Hey, thanks, Dale.
Yeah.
Excuse Rod Mills, he's in Salt Lake today. On to discussions and actions. I've talked to the board members and to Denny, Mr. Bass, about his appointment to treasurer of the service district. So at this point, I would make the motion that Denny Bass be appointed as the treasurer of the Big Plains Water and Sewer Special Service District.
I second
Second vote.
Aye.
Aye.
that. Aye.
Denny, you can vote for yourself.
I guess if I can, yeah, I'll say aye. Yeah.
You want to make sure you're still there.
Alright.
All right, well, congratulations.
Okay, thank you. As soon as I get back, we'll take care of that business we have to take care of, so.
Okay, yep, sounds good.
All right.
State board training discussion, that was just a point of discussion, and I talked to LeGrand Bitter, who is the state trainer for service districts, and he said that he would be down here doing training at the Dixie Center in March, and that he'd either do it there, or if he had time, he'd come out here and do it.
Yeah, I think we should just have everybody go to the Dixie Center, because they have a lot more information than just even the board training available.
So anyway,
There's a lot of breakout sessions that were really informative last year when I went.
and there's been a lot of inquiries about the training that's going on in February, latter part of February, and that's, when I talked to him, he said that our specific training would be in March. So
Oh, okay.
we'll get in touch
So-
with-
Okay, if I may ask, have you got the dates confirmed on those meetings yet, or the training?
Not on the March training, I have not.
Oh, okay, all right.
The other training is in that booklet I gave you the other day,
All right, gotcha, yeah.
and so you can pull that out. So the training's being lined up, so we're good with that. Now, road repair status and update. I talked to Richard Fisher about it a month or so ago, and he said he's gonna get a hold of Dale, but he wanted to wait until it warmed up.
Yeah, we've already contacted each other, and that's what we
Yeah.
just gotta wait for it to warm up, and we'll put them down.
Okay, so anyway, I wanna make sure you two both touch base, and then when it comes time to do that, we need to, this future policy discussion actually should go on the next item, but basically, what we need to do is, and covering that next one as well, when we put in a connection, we're charging $2,500 at this point, flat fee. And in the booklet, there's a breakdown that Ben has done, and just basic cost, if everything goes according to plan, would be $1,561. I just made a few more notes, if there's blacktop involved. One thing that's happened is we dig those holes out, and the road base gets mixed with the clay, and we put it back in the hole. That doesn't work, so we've got to plan on putting some road base in there no matter what happens. And especially if it's a road base road, it's got to be in there and compacted. But if it's a blacktop road, it's got to be put in there, compacted, and then have a hole big enough for the blacktop to go in, and so those things weren't really on this list. And then trying to figure out a way to do it. I think our discussion before was that go on a, set up a policy where it's on a, it'd just be cost per situation, per connection. It's gonna, you know, you gotta put down your time and the backhoe and on and on and on and whatever, and whether there's blacktop or whatever. And then the people who, when they come in to do the paperwork on that, are gonna have to understand that we really don't have a number on that. So this is open for discussion. What do you?
I would rather go a whole different direction. Let me suggest this, because his time is valuable enough, having him out there with the backhoe, even digging a hole and all that, why not just make it the responsibility of the homeowner and the contractor who's building that house, hang on a second, to dig that hole, expose the pipe, then they call him when they're ready for them to actually place the saddle or do the connection. Maybe that's the part that you actually do, because they've exposed the pipe, but then they're responsible for the compaction, fixing the road, and doing all that, and then.
As long as I'm doing the
And now
connection, that's
it's
the only
him
part.
showing up, you know, okay, I'll be there at 10, you think you'll be ready, and you show up at 10, oh, they're not ready till 1, you take off for 3 hours and come back at 1 o'clock, and then you actually do the saddle and the connection, but you make them responsible for all the digging. If they hit a wire in between there, they go and hit fiber optic, that's on them, not us now. And it just takes a monkey off our back. And the best part I like about it is then you're not, you know, everybody cussing at us because 2 months later we still haven't taken time to fix the road.
No, I like
Making
it, I like
someone
it.
else's
I
job.
like it. My thing is just straight up, I'm anal about those service connections, and I'm just being honest. I've seen a lot of slop since I've been out here, and to trust someone to do a service connection for me is a huge step. So as long as I'm doing that connection, I'm saddling the pipe, I'm running it, and I'm making sure my fittings are all good, I like that idea.
And then this right here becomes now just the parts and your labor for actually doing the saddle. And then the money's on the homeowner's back, and they don't get a CO until all that stuff is compacted and fixed and repaired, and none of it's on you.
I like that.
So the only part you would have in it, if I'm following this right, is that once the pipe is exposed, then you would take it from there in
Labor and parts,
and watch
yeah.
them compact it till the pipe was covered, and then they.
Yep,
Mhm.
I like that.
Now you're out there for 2 hours, 3 hours at the most.
I like that. Because that's the part I didn't want to relinquish, is me actually during the service. Someone to come out else and dig it and put that on there, I do, I like that
It takes
idea.
a lot of liability off of us, and it's,
You like that?
Sure, I'm good for whatever you guys wanna do, especially you, because you're the one doing it. What do you think, Ross?
I think it's a great idea, I do, and it takes the liability away.
Yeah.
You never know where you're gonna hit.
Yep.
I like that, but I think there should be some form of fee, because I mean, it's not gonna be a one trip usually, because you're gonna go out on a lot of them and they're not ready, so you gotta go back. But maybe we could figure that in and have some form
Yeah.
of fee. Because I mean, when people come in, they kinda wanna know, don't they? So what's my water connector or something?
but it's easy to do that at this point, because now we can say that normal is like 3 hours or something.
Yep, and then all you have is.
And if you're out there an hour and a half,
parts.
it's
Yep.
still 3
Yeah,
hours.
that's a great idea.
You know, and then whatever you feel like is appropriate for, you know.
No, I like it.
And then, so you charge them 3 hours, and then half of the stuff can go away, and our connection fee just might have even dropped down a little bit from what we have on a sheet of paper, which makes us look like heroes, because we're not charging as much. I don't know, just a thought.
I think it's a good idea.
I like it.
Why don't we work with Ben when he gets back, you and Ben and Mayor, myself, whoever, but mostly you and Ben, put this in policy form.
Okay.
Get Ben to do the language, and then we'll accept it as policy in our next meeting.
One more thing that this really will benefit us is you remember what it was like when Pledger had to dig his hydrant, and he hit that shelf rock right there. And they had to switch from a mini X to a large excavator because they couldn't get through the rock. And so the rock claws kicks in because it's all on them to dig the hole.
We would have been SOL, we wouldn't have got through that with our equipment. We were fortunate that a hydrant was going in at the same time, because I wouldn't have got through that with the backhoe. Yeah. So no, great idea, yeah.
Then it puts it all on the homeowner, so I love it.
Okay, well, if everybody's good with that, we'll get it written in policy form for the next meeting, and then we'll go forward with that general framework from this point forward.
Cool.
And we'll just do it as an operational practice until it's actual policy, but that'll happen next meeting.
That's true, we could just even tell people how we're doing it. When they ask how much is it gonna be, can't put the policy in place without it being in place, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just
I'm
says
down.
the way we do it. Okay.
By the way, in that same vein, can I,
Sure.
talk about the permitting process? You know, we're trying to put that on computers and tablets. And the reason we want to do that is because then when a building permit comes in, you're instantly notified by email that there's a new building permit application. And then we'll provide some training, but you go onto the tablet, you're gonna be able to see just what has to be done, where it's at. You can drive out there, do a site inspection, make any notes into that tablet that what needs to be done. And then that helps us all know that we have this punch list. You'll know that we have a punch list, and we'll all be able to communicate better on that.
Yeah, Ben sent me like a link thing or whatever for setting up an account with it.
And that'll help us when we have any kind of issues that pop up that you're concerned about, because we'd like them in there, because then when we can hold up a CO because we know something's not done based on this punch list, and I think it'll organize us better on all of that.
I agree.
And communication as well.
Okay, good. Anything else on that?
I guess not.
Okay, I
I'm
think we
good.
can wind that together in the next couple of weeks and make a policy out of it
Yes, sir.
and go forward with it. Okay, number 7, USDA water project update. I was informed that the state has completed all of their USDA required paperwork, and it's been forwarded to Washington DC for immediate action. So there you have it.
Thank you.
Hold the breath.
They see no issue with the 100% grant or the project. It's just a matter of it's ground its way through the state, and now the other folks have to take a look at it. They did say that they'd guess 2 or 3 weeks, then it'll come back and go to bid, and so probably a couple of months should be doing something.
Mr. Chairman, I mean, I know we're not to the bid spot, but when we get to the bid part, can we break it out on the bid and then see if there's stuff we can do in-house down the road? Is that?
I don't know how that'll come back. We can see what happens. There's a fellow by the name of Chip Rich, who is with the USDA, that is at the Dixie Center. Will be there the last week of this month, and he's the man that's kind of guiding the ship at this point. And we can talk with him, or we could. He's usually at the USDA booth along the wall, halfway down to where they have the gun show. If you could go one of those. But it's kind of even the people that are involved in it have to talk to somebody else to talk to somebody else. It's kind of a foggy world, at least it is for me. So they've got it that far, and I don't know any more about it.
Just a thought.
They said not to worry, so.
Good.
Hey, Harold,
Yes,
that's $1 million grant that went back to Washington. What about allowing us to use that 41,000 to work on those 2 wells? Does that go back there also for approval, or can they do it statewide?
no, that's the state drinking water people.
Okay, good enough. Okay,
Yeah, that's more in our wheelhouse here.
all right.
And that's there now, right? Any idea when we're gonna hear on that?
The last I heard, Michael Grange said that it would be brought before the Drinking Water Board in February, and he saw no issues with it. They just wanted to bring it up, and so I would think they'd probably have their meeting before they come to the Dixie Center for that. But anyway, it should be this month. I called Ben and asked him to put the water master truck repair discussion on the board until we've got it band-aided up, and it seems to be working fine, but
Ship's afloat right now.
it's a wing and a prayer deal.
I saw him hot rodding it the other day. I got choked out. He was in front of me and I was behind him. Oh my gosh. I thought he was burning rubber at first, but I didn't realize it was exhaust coming out.
I can't even exaggerate and do it justice how much white smoke that I was putting out. When I went down there and, got the smoke to stop and put that thing in there, I had 9 people tell me on the way down to American Car Care that my truck was smoking. And I thought to myself, you think I can't see that here? There's smoke coming out of the back of my truck? Yeah.
What do you think is the fix for it? Is it just time to retire it?
Blow in the head gasket. So I put in some stop leak, and it instantly, within a couple of minutes, the smoke stopped. And there's a story that goes with that. It's an 04. Come to find out, of course, our luck, we bought an off year for Ford. To rebuild that motor is about $8,000 to $9,000. The whole cab has to come off, and you got to disassemble. Yeah. So I did some research on the internet. Also heard a couple inspirational stories about the stop leak, that if you've got a small one, that can last a couple of years sometimes. So I'm fine again right now. I have no smoke. I'm not burning through my antifreeze. My exhaust is good. I don't have any moisture. Before I was just going through it. You can drip your hand just by putting it down there by
It's
the
definitely a
exhaust.
Band-Aid though. We're gonna have to.
It's a Band-Aid,
talk about
yeah.
replacing that truck probably.
I was talking to Ross about that. Maybe you could share your thoughts on.
Yeah, my old company was looking for a truck, and I've been going down to that TNT auction in Las Vegas, which they have it's November and April. And it's government, it's
I'm a fan of
vehicles from government, I've been to the Ritchie Brothers stuff, and it seems like they do a lot more on painting than they do fixing, where it runs. So anyway, the last auction, they had like 50 three-quarter trucks with tool beds and 40,000 miles. They went for $7,000 to $8,000.
Oh, wow.
Where's
Nice
this
stuff.
at?
It's in Vegas. It's in Vegas.
The state has the same thing. Springdale, I bought a couple of 2-ton trucks and a pickup that were UDOT fleet, and they're meticulous. If you can get a state-owned vehicle, because they go through, they're meticulous about servicing their vehicles, and you can get a rip and buy on at these auctions. Yeah, I'm a supporter of that.
Well, even St. George City sends their stuff down, so they'll be online. We could look and see what's on there, and I just think that'd be a good avenue to check.
Yeah.
Yeah, my thought on it was to try to limp this thing through until that auction shows up, and if we can get a truck for $7,000 or $8,000, even though I hate to spend the money, we don't have much of a choice on this thing.
No, we need to have a.
Hey, are we talking about the Ritchie Brothers auction outside of Vegas?
No, the TNT, Tom Nancy Tom auction. Yeah.
Oh, okay, because I went by there this morning and they didn't have hardly anything sitting in the lot, so.
They just probably finished an auction at Ritchie, but this is a different auction. I remember
Okay.
we were looking for a truck
Alright.
a couple of years ago, and craziest thing is in Texas, I think it was, they had these service body trucks that had 7,000 miles on them. They were military, where they bought all these trucks, obviously didn't need them, didn't use them, and they had just no miles on them at all.
Wow.
And I think I'll look even further than just, Las Vegas to see what else is out there where the military is dumping something because, it's, a few years old, they didn't use it, don't need it, whatever, and all of a sudden you have these things with just no miles on them at all. It'd be awesome to pick up something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if we can find something in the meantime, great. If not, let's keep our eye on April and see what we can pick up, and we can probably sell that white one to, I don't know if we will sell it to anybody. We have parted out, tires are good. Anyway, let's kind of plan on doing that then, if that's all right. See if we can find something in the meantime. If not, we'll go to Vegas and see what we can pick up in April.
I'm more of a fan to move forward on that sooner than later, because I don't think your stop leak is necessarily gonna be
Stop leak.
much of a,
Yeah.
you know, fix for more than a few months. I
agree.
We're on borrowed time right now.
Yeah.
Going up and down that hill, as soon as you get some heat in the summer, that thing's gonna fall apart, so.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
All right. Anybody else have anything that they want to discuss under discussions? We finished our list.
The only thing I had was, did we discuss last time about sending a letter to Ensign, or do we need to send them a letter and saying that we went out to bid and the bid was this much, so that they're on notice that they're not getting any money?
Well, let's get the permission first, I think. But
Yeah, I talked to Ben about it, and then I told him, that my thought was that he has sent a couple of letters indicating to Ensign that, their billing was left a little bit to be desired. And so if they could clean it up, then he'd consider looking at it. But as it stands now, he thinks that it's a even Steven thing, so if they produce some bills, we'd look at it. I've talked to Curtis, from Ensign, and told him that the bid was $55,000, we have $41,000 in the account. So wasn't looking to
So he's
wait
been
for
right,
it,
okay.
but I didn't say.
Okay.
And he contacted me on wanting to know what I could do to help get those old bills, paid, and I pretty much just told him, I've instructed everybody not to pay them until you come up with drawings that match the invoice that you're trying to bill us for. And, so I don't know what he's gonna do, other than, I just didn't have much sympathy for him though, and said it's, we have a bill, we can't attach to any work being done, so unless you can give us a copy of the work that goes with the invoice, then stop bugging us, pretty much.
And I have a list of, of bills that weren't really satisfied by Ensign, things that they billed for were paid for that weren't completed, drawings and on and on and on. So if we get into it, I think we have plenty of stuff to talk about.
But in essence, he's been notified.
Yes, verbally.
Okay, okay.
Anything else? Okay,
Just the other thing that we had, talked about on the phone a week ago was, interlocal agreement, so. We could, get together maybe next week or something, I think we should, go over some of that.
reach in the back, color, brand new, right off the press.
Oh, okay.
And then you can look over that in the next day or two, and we can get together and
Okay.
make any adjustments or whatever you want to do to it.
All right. All right, I'll look at it.
I put that in there for safekeeping, that's a good thing you mentioned it, they've been there a year from now. See, we have consent calendar for December 2019.
Yeah, I've looked over the consent calendars and, I didn't have any questions. I'd make a move that we approve the consent calendar.
Okay,
I second.
vote.
Aye.
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 Okay,
And I make a move that we adjourn this meeting.
Second. Aye.
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 Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, Denny.
Thanks, Danny.
Thank you, guys. I'll see you soon. I get back.
All right.